Hey guys, welcome back to Just Talk TV. We're moving on to segment 3 of our special episode right now, where we've been talking about the El Clasico, we've been talking about Real Madrid, but now we're going to talk about something a bit different, and it's actually our thoughts on the proposed European Super League. And my guest here, Hanif Kamaruddin, on top of being a official member of the Los Blancos community and La Liga fan, also has a bit of a background in banking and finance, so this is going to be a very in your ballpark kind of topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited about this European Super League because, again, I'm all for it. I'm a big proponent for it. Big proponent.
Because, like, one of the reasons the Super League thing has even come about right now specifically has been the financial impact of COVID on football in general. Lack of match day revenues, different types of expenditure costs and everything has eaten into the day-to-day running of the clubs, football clubs, and it's led to interesting conversation now where people are talking about currently a European Super League where the top teams in Europe will be playing each other week in and week out.
Yeah.
And it's a concept that I think we have like thought about in our dreams maybe in some circumstances, but it's also a double-edged sword concept in my opinion. I think there's a lot of things that's interesting about it as a concept. I think the Champions League also comes into play somehow here when we're talking about this European Super League. But with this, but we're talking about modern football and the financial state of it. Is this actually a good move for modern football in general?
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, as we are global sports fans of football fans of the world,
Exactly.
so we want the best premium content all the time, every weekend when we spend on it. So personally, I've always felt that I've always wanted as the clubs that we support, or at least 95% of the global fans that are not in these countries support, are the big clubs. You know what I mean? We like the Real Madrids, we like, you know, the Manchester Uniteds, Liverpools, Bayern Munich's, PSG. So why do we limit ourselves to the Champions League, which is played on a weekday? Okay, think about it. They played on a weekday instead of a weekend, where most of the revenue and the money and the primetime money is in. So I would way more advocate for 38 or 36 games for Real Madrid against the best top tier opposition in the world, which would not only generate more money for the club, enhance the brand image, open up Real Madrid and the whole football world community to new audience, because again, these are the biggest clubs in the world.
I think it's interesting. I think the thing that you need to also consider is one of the things about it is modern football right now. I feel like you bring up a lot of valid points, but the thing about the European Super League and a big problem with it is, first of all, you gotta look at it from the sense of where are these tournaments going to be held? Is it going to be held in the home countries, or are they going to just find a neutral venue, something like Dubai?
No. They're going to be played. That's the thing. That like what you said there. You can see that whenever they play in America and they have that competition that they will have, what I forgot what it's called. But
Like the Emirates Cup?
Yeah.
Like
So all Emirates Cup and everything, and where the big teams play each other. When you see, like for example, like Manchester United against Real Madrid, for example, about 2 years ago, which was they played in Michigan State University's stadium.
Correct, yes.
It's the biggest amount of attendance they've ever had in a football game ever. And I think they packed it out at about 109,000 people. So the effect of the matter is, like John Rockefeller said, if you build it, they will come. So the money is already it's backed by FIFA,
Right.
and the money, Sky Sports, everything, all the big broadcasters will want to see Real Madrid against Juve on every single year without a miss. This would just be very good for football in general.
I mean, in general, even probably one of the good things that this does do is maybe the quality of football would increase tremendously, because every weekend the squads probably would be very different makeup, because every week you're facing high level opposition. But I'm gonna look at the negative aspect of it and say, I do think this does take away from the romanticism of football, the romantic side of football that we like. We do, I don't know if everyone likes it, but take for example today morning, Aston Villa against Leeds United. Now traditionally, we wouldn't consider that to be a primetime game or anything, but the way it's marketed, the whole Leeds story cannot happen if this Super League idea happens, in my opinion, and that takes away from the romantic side of football. Not to mention the communities being a representation of the football club. If you take Barcelona out of Barcelona and put them in America, for example, to play a game or whatever, that would mean that the community of Barcelona misses out. It's no longer their club, in a sense. But then again, yeah, okay. So global brand, I'm guessing, is where you're going to go with this.
No, it's not just the global. They're going to still play these games in Barcelona, and there still be a EPL, a La Liga, a Bundesliga, and everyone else like that. I'm just saying, why is there why is for example football, like the Premier League teams still focus on a Mickey Mouse League, a Mickey Mouse Cup called the Carabao Cup? It's being sponsored by a bloody energy drink. There's nobody. I've never had a Carabao in my life, and how was I? No one is gonna be like, I'm a champion of what, the Carabao Cup, and like you're proud of that. I mean, again,
I like to call the Carabao Cup the Manchester City Invitational.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So like I'm saying, is like it's completely unnecessary to feel your best team in the Carabao Cup. But again, if you have an additional league on top of whatever you have right now, you're not taking away anything from the Premier League. If anything, you're just adding to the firepower on the glamour of the Premier League, because your teams are being included into the Premier competition. Again, it's an improvement of the current. If anything, it's an improvement of the current Champions League, which I find it's. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Certain clubs in the Champions League should not even be considered in there, to be honest.
So what would you think would be the best format then for this kind of thing? What, like
No, I mean
teams?
it's gonna be I mean, they've basically leaked out a few things already. It's gonna be 16 teams in the Invitational, home and away. They play every week on a weekend where the premium slots are. Fans can come in, people can watch, me and you can watch, and I rather watch, like I said, Bayern Munich against PSG than Borussia Mönchengladbach against Mainz.
But then again, wouldn't you say that, like for example this weekend, there's a few derbies going around. There's the El Clasico, then there's the Rhine derby between Schalke and Dortmund, then there's the Italian match between Milan and Roma.
See, that's the thing. All of those things are still going to be there. Well, Borussia is going to be invited. Dortmund, I mean. Borussia Dortmund is going to be invited. Bayern Munich is going to be invited. Real Madrid is going to be invited. Barca is going to be invited. Both Milans are going to be invited. So all the things that we like about football is now condensed in one single competition. But there's still going to be competition. What are we going to say? Real Madrid against Barcelona is going to stop being a Clásico just because they play in a different competition? No, we still consider it a Clásico.
And a Clásico and a European competition that is happening.
Let's be honest, the best Clásicos in recent memories are all happening in the Champions League. I mean, to be honest, we shall never forget about the Pepe and Barca one-on-one fight with the eyes and everything. That was happening in the La Liga. It wasn't happening in the La Liga. It was happening in the Champions League.
But that's also because that was a knockout competition.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Now everything intensifies, and now we finally can determine. Like again, knockout competition, as much as romantic as it is not value accretive to the club. Again, part and parcel of why the NFL is so lucrative and the American sports culture is so lucrative is because they constrain everyone and they pool money and they distribute it out together. And they give out money based on winners and losers, etc., etc. So I'm just saying, right now, if there's a league format everyone gets relatively about the same amount of money, maybe about a 20 to 30% increase for winners and losers. That is much more of a better financial model, especially for these clubs right now. Again, I'm very sad when I hear about like cases like Wigan going into administration, for example. But it would be
the Bury case as well.
yeah. But again, that would be in pale comparison if, let's just say, Bayern Munich goes into administration. Which definitely they would not, because it's a very well-run organization. But Barca's in financial debt right now. They need the money. Have you been to the Nou Camp recently? God damn, that's a shithole. It is a shithole. I mean, and Real Madrid needs the funds to create their new stadium. So, I mean, why do we want to limit the best teams in the world from having better facilities to access their better fans, which dominate the majority of the world?
Because football at its core, Hanif, is a community-based thing. But the
bigger community is the fans of these 16, 20 clubs.
So take for example a team like Leicester, right? The magic of Leicester, and let's not try and. I think sometimes we're so. I get it. You and me are fans of a club that exists in another continent, right? Completely separate from our own. But the whole point of all this is to increase the revenue of the biggest clubs. But there's not that much primetime money to go around. Teams like Leicester, who are growing, and then they won the Premier League, and then they're getting better every year, don't stand a chance of getting into a league like this. For example, wouldn't you say so?
I completely agree with what you're trying to say. Like I said, this league, it serves to coexist with the current leagues that you have right now. The Premier League is not going to go away. The money for the Premier League is not going to go away.
I debate that it could go away.
Again, the pool is very big. There's a lot more people. There's a lot more demand. Again,
we haven't even begun to talk about streaming services coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's so many. The pool is very big enough for another league. I mean, to be honest, what it creates a gap between the biggest clubs of the world and the smaller clubs because of this new financial advantage that they will be having. But don't forget that, because these bigger clubs have to commit resources into this bigger competition, it's net zero-sum game. In the actual truth is like, now you're asking Messi to play an additional 30 games if at your current rate. But in actual truth is the Messis of the world should never be relegated to playing
against Cadiz, for example.
No, not against Cadiz, for example. But they should not be relegated to be playing against.
But that's what I'm saying.
No, they should not be playing against in the Copa del Rey, where that is, if anything, it promotes the youth team to play in the Copa del Rey. I mean, if Valverde had the opportunity to show his talents in the Copa del Rey at a younger age, I mean, the world is his oyster right now. I mean, just imagine if we get to see the current Castilla team in playing in the biggest cup competition in Spain. So again, it's a win-win for the whole club.
I feel that one of the things that we tend to do with this is we tend to look at it in a macro sense. We never look at it as each specific club. And it comes down to, if you think about it, right? If we're talking about 16 teams, so that would be, I would assume, the top 2 teams for every.
No, it's an invitational.
It's invitational. Okay, it's an invitational system, and it sort of creates this huge vacuum in between. Because the local, like what you're saying, what's going to happen is Premier League, if they have a Liverpool game, already managers are complaining about 72 game seasons. Like, they have to play a lot of games throughout the season. The biggest clubs have the biggest fixture list slogs, and this, I don't see a world where you're going to compete in your local league and you're going to compete in the European Super League. I don't think it exists, because you'd have to play 32 games in the European Super League
Yeah.
and then play 8 games in the Premier League, for
Yeah.
example, well, that's going to cause a huge problem. And what's going to happen is you're going to need a bigger squad.
Yeah.
Probably that's what's going to happen. But then that's like a serious power imbalance we're talking about. What's to stop people from resting their best players for the Premier League and putting in the best players in the European Super League?
No, that's going to happen. I mean, it's already happening as it is with the Champions League. What's the difference between adding in the Super League?
Because the Champions League is a group stage affair. It happens every 2 weeks. There is a sort of a time differential that allows teams to sort of
Yeah.
recover and then place their players for the week, and they have a 2-day, 3-day period before the Premier League. But if you're talking about a weekend slot, and then you're gonna have to move the Premier League games to another time
Yeah.
zone, yes. So then when you do that, it's gonna cause a huge mess with the fixtures, because then what you're suggesting is you move all the Premier League games that involve the teams in this European Super League to the weekdays.
But to be honest, it's not a question of it's not the Premier League. The Premier League won't do anything. It won't be able to do anything. Once the clubs agrees to participate, the Premier League has to bow down to these clubs. Because at the end of the day, can you imagine a Premier League without Manchester United and Liverpool?
Probably not. Those are the two biggest teams in England.
Yeah.
So it'll be tough to have a league without those two.
I mean, like, I think, 65% maybe of Malaysians support either Manchester United or Liverpool?
Correct. Yeah.
So, that speaks of the volume itself.
So then now I want to move to the other point here, which is what about, do we really want to see every week the big teams just facing each other? Is that what we really want?
Yeah, I mean, because that just creates better content. I mean, look,
Like the football quality will go up.
yeah,
that's
the
for sure.
football quality goes up, the infrastructure goes up for the clubs. Again, for the communities that they went there. Like, Nick, you've been to Anfield, right?
Yes.
You know how hard is it to get a ticket in Anfield, right?
Yeah, it's near impossible.
Yeah. Okay, look, Real Madrid is upgrading their stadium right now. Again, to get a Clasico ticket, you need to apply months ahead.
Right.
Like, it just is impossible to get one if like you don't live in Madrid, you don't line it up, and you don't have the connections as it is. Adding and increasing the capacity of the stadium is just one part. It will be a very influential part of it. And I want Real Madrid to improve.
Right.
I want United to improve. I want Liverpool to improve. Everyone wants them to improve because they are the biggest clubs in the world. But if the money is not there, the capital is not there, the revenue is not there, then it's hard for them to justify to the board or their boards at least to, hey, maybe we need to increase by 20,000. So then you have unique situations like how Spurs is trying to do in increasing their revenue. But then with COVID, clubs like Spurs are killing themselves because again it's that is not how it's not a sure thing, you know what I mean? But the European Super League broadcast money is a sure thing. It will provide a buffer for the clubs to at least consider improving their facilities as it is currently. And not only that, yeah, they will have bigger squads. Are we really against Real Madrid having 25 star players?
Again, you're talking about increasing ticket prices. We're talking about increasing.
I don't think so. The prices of tickets will increase that
the
much.
facilities go up.
No, because it's a volume game. It's a volume game. They increase the volume, they increase the price.
As it is right
And
now.
they increase the revenue.
Right now, the Premier League is charging $15 to the English to watch a game on their pay-per-view news style systems. If the European Super League comes up with something like that, for example, people will just argue that, just pitch in and buy it. It's the biggest games in the world to buy it. But isn't that like financially and morally just wrong? Shouldn't the games be televised and just allowed to be how they are?
No, I mean, again, we live in a capitalistic system of the world here.
Right.
And if this is what how the biggest clubs in the world wants to generate that, this is where they are right now in terms of revenue growth, then this is where they want to be, and this is how where it is, why are we not allowing the biggest clubs in the world to have that increase?
Because they will get the lion's share of the market share. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And again, like I said, the biggest clubs will always have the lion's share. You think that as much as they want to make you believe that Leicester and Leicester and Aston Villa and Leicester United and everything, it's already a problem as it is. Especially with Arab money and all of this bigger money coming in, we need to protect the bigger clubs against these people.
I would say the other thing is that a situation like Leicester is one thing. A situation like Manchester City, for example, if this Super League comes into play and let's say billionaire owners take over Newcastle, Newcastle won't be able to break into this system.
That's the thing. We need to roll. Like, as much as I like Newcastle, I mean, they don't have a fan base.
But they're the biggest team up north of England. I mean,
no, but they don't have the fan base throughout the world that it's been proven by Deloitte that where all the 20 for me, the people that should be in the European Super League, it should be audited by Deloitte in terms of fan base and see who has the most, and you know, it's that's how you get in.
Then it becomes a popularity contest, Nif.
No, we want it to be that we want to create value for the biggest teams in the world. Again, it's conglomerate style of doing it. Again, but it is the best model out there, because you, at the end of the day, there is way too many teams, football teams in the world. Same, but you cannot say the same.
Well, yes, definitely.
But the same cannot be said for the American sport model, which has created value and created wealth for the superstars, for the players, created money consistently for the owners, created enough money and generate enough spectacular visuals that we see throughout the stadium. Have you seen? I mean, the NBA and the NFL has done wonders in their pre-game, their post-game, their marketing, in terms of like trying to boost to another level. Jacksonville Jaguars has a bloody swimming pool in their stadium.
That being said, you also have to agree that the ownerships in place in these leagues have a huge monopoly on what's happening. Therefore, sometimes certain cities will never see teams come to their cities, and certain franchises can move if the owner wants to move it. My point here is that if we're going into a system like that, a lot of these teams are steeped in history and are steeped in tradition. Real Madrid is a team steeped in history and tradition. Same thing with Liverpool. Liverpool live off that tradition. The same thing with something like Barcelona. The same thing with the Bayern Munich. You know, we're talking about European champions here who have so much of tradition, history ingrained into each team. And when you do something like this, for example, if the ownership suddenly says, you know what, we're not making enough money in England, let's hold a match in Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be able to pull in a stadium of 150,000 fans in Charlotte. But then the Liverpool, the thing that makes the team special for a team like Liverpool, like the Ultras and all these things, suffer because of that.
I agree, they would. Look, I mean, if you go to Spain,
I've been to Spain,
yeah. I mean, throughout the whole area itself, I mean, Granada and Seville and everything, I don't see Seville jerseys.
So I don't see Sevilla jerseys.
Yeah, I don't see Sevilla jerseys. I will go to Granada, I don't see Sevilla jerseys. You guess what they're trying to sell at the tourist shops there? 2 jerseys only, Barca and Real. They were really, when you went to university in the UK, you ask a lot of different people there. Yeah, they come from X amount of countries in the world, counties and districts and whatever. But what do they support? I mean, yeah, they probably do support their local teams, but at the end of the day, they do support the big clubs as well. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't see it as a lost-lost situation. I mean, if anything, Real Madrid, Barca, and the big clubs of the world will get bigger and bigger. They will probably take up the shortfall in hiring and in getting players to come into the Castilla and places like that. And then it'll probably be a field system where these bigger clubs will just get bigger, like business itself. Like you see how Nestle is galloping, swallowing everyone up. It's the same. So at the end of the day,
So what? It's survival of the fittest now. for
it's
football clubs?
it's always been survival of the fittest. But the idea of it is to streamline business
So-
and streamline football clubs.
So my thing is what you're saying. Actually, I agree a bit in terms of football is a brand game, and you got to go with the fact that everyone's trying to increase the market value so they can do the big things, improve the facilities and all. But sometimes when clubs go away from it, they lose the thing that makes it special. I take Arsenal as an example. Arsenal haven't won a league title since they moved from Highbury. And Highbury is their traditional, hunting ground. That's why they made the history. Ever since they moved to the Emirates, the complaint has been the place is like a museum. There's not a lot of fans. That they can't fill up the stadium, or they don't make noise in that stadium. That benefit a 60,000, 90,000 seater stadium like that. And then now if you're gonna put a Super League system in place, let's say, I do fear the ticket prices will go up. I do fear that the novelty of it will dull, because every week you're gonna see what's next. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Oh, great. Okay, didn't we just see Bayern Munich, Barcelona last week? It's like, why are we watching this? Of course, the Madrid fans will be invested, and the Bayern Munich fans will be invested, but the average football fan will look at it and go, "Do I really want to watch this every single week?" Especially because it's an invitational only kind of situation. And if we're going by fan base, I don't see the list changing each season. Like the list is pretty much going to stay pretty consistent now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but then at the end of the day, it's like, think about this in this way. Like, soon with the amount of money being spent right now, and this is the fight also to save fan-owned clubs like Real, like Barca, like Bayern from being extinct. You know what I mean? Because they always have to fight a dirty battle game against dirty money. I mean, not dirty money, but now it used to be billionaires. Now it's nation states coming and fighting it again. Just imagine if Malaysia owns one of these football clubs. How much we can, if our part of our GDP goes into this to this place to buy to buy Robinho or Ronaldinho or something like that, we will go bankrupt. I mean, the team will be very, very good. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like Real Madrid will never be able to fight a country. It's a football club, not a bloody. I mean, it's basically Real Madrid needs to own a place in Dubai, create an economy over there for it to be at the same level as PSG.
All right. So I mean, like, would you say that this is therefore it's a logical thing? Do we actually think it's going to happen?
It's a logical thing, but it's far from completion. I believe it's not the 2022 timeline that Sky News reported.
Yeah, because I think that they need to revise how the league's going to happen.
Yeah.
They need to put into place how this invitational system is going to work.
Yeah.
For example, and there's a lot of things I think they need to still look through. I do feel like I like the current Champions League system. I think the current Champions League system is so interesting, and it's a tournament that I love to watch every year. So that it's very involving. It involves a lot of different clubs. Of course, sometimes you have to debate with Ferencvaros or something.
Bate Borisov should not be in there.
Bate Borisov or something. But then again, sometimes you get Red Bull Salzburg, and that's an interesting, exciting team. And this is the kind of avenue that is good for teams. I just think that if we have a European Super League, we're gonna miss out on some teams. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. I do think that probably the world is heading in that direction anyway, right?
Yeah.
Can't be argued. I think it will happen eventually, but when it does happen, I hope that it's something that is quite balanced, involving, and also be able to showcase the premier spectacle of football without making it derelict to the fans of football, keeping with the community values. I think there's going to be a compromise somewhere in there with the community values part.
I
think
feel
it'll be a
like sometimes,
business, yeah.
like, you know, clubs like Liverpool and the bigger clubs in the world, their community values is throughout the world. So it's global community now.
Global fan base means global value, I guess. Yeah. So that's it for this segment, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I would also like to thank my guest Hanif for coming on the show as well. And please do remember, once again, I would like to say, comment, like, and subscribe, please.
Smash like button. Smash that like button. All right. Peace out, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you on the flip side.